Okay, so I'm making this video to kind of recap all the trades that I've taken since last Thursday. It's about 6, 7 trades or so, and it's the first time in a really long time that I have a full week to track trading progress. And it wasn't bad. I basically ended up about $1,000 in profit in about a week or so, and just kind of wanted to walk through all the trades that I took. So this first trade was on SPX, right? Simple bear plane setup where um, basically hourly velocity is decreasing here. We have price coming up and attacking the 5 minute trigger. The one in the 5 minute trigger get tight here, and then price breaks back below while hourly velocity makes a new low here. This trade, I wish I would have taken profits on the way down here because I kind of got out basically for break even once price started to attack the 1 minute trigger here. But this wasn't the highest quality setup, right? Because it's pretty extended from the hourly trigger here. Typically, I like to take the first airplane setup after price breaks the hourly trigger, which, I mean, that didn't happen before the play here. But yeah, typically the highest quality plane setup is after price breaks the hourly trigger. But this was basically a $30 profit play there. The next play was on Google. I believe the same day here. Looking at right here. So this is kind of what I was referring to as far as the first plane setup after price makes the breaks the hourly trigger, right? And looking back on this, I really should have went in with bigger size because it was pretty textbook the way everything lined up here. So we have hourly velocity confirmation decrease from the last hourly velocity print. Not only do we have that, one of the main things I like seeing when entering a plane setup is 1 minute divergences. So this was the highest 1 minute velocity print here. Okay, price makes a new high, does not print a higher 1 minute velocity print. So that basically tells us that price wants to come back down and close below the 1 minute trigger. I guess I could have started entering a position up here, right? But I typically like to wait for the confirmation when price closes below the 1 minute trigger. So I entered here, and I didn't wait this play out. I think I entered this candle and I was out once we made a quick move down here, but obviously price kept moving down here and I could have taken way bigger profits if I just stayed patient. Or I mean, typically I like to wait to see once 5 minute velocity stops decreasing, right, which would have been right here, and I guess I could have taken profit with one of these candles here. It would have been bigger profit. The next play was on Tesla and it was a loss, so I made $100 here on Google, by the way. Yeah, but it could have been a lot more. The next two trades were on Tesla. They were both losers. And this was on the 14th, which I believe was Friday. Okay, looking back on this, this was not a good setup, although it ended up playing out, but I got faked out twice here, or I entered twice. I tried to give this 2 shots, but looking back on this, I was not looking at this clearly, right? Price is pretty choppy here, but what I was basically looking at is the fact that price was attacking the hourly trigger here while hourly velocity was still strong positive. Okay, and price was forming 1 minute divergences, suggesting that price wants to come back up. So I believe I kind of entered here prematurely just because I didn't wait for price to fully close above the 1 minute trigger again. Got stopped out immediately. Okay, I tried to give it another try here once we did get the full mount, but of course got stopped out again. And I guess if I would have placed my stop loss below the previous low here, I wouldn't have stopped out, but of course this then mounted again and we got the move that I was looking for there. Typically, all I look for is to target the 5 minute trigger. So this kind of would have looked like this, I guess, with the final entry here up to there. But yeah, this one was, yeah, not the best setup. That's all right. It's a small loss. I didn't take this with large size, so I think between the two entries I lost $184. The next play was probably my best trade in the last week, which was back on SPX. And it was also on Friday. Okay. This trade here is, I think, the most prime example of what I like to look for, right? So again, first airplane setup after price breaks the hourly trigger. Huge hourly velocity increase here for confirmation. The only thing here is that the only difference I would rather had with this setup is the fact that I kind of entered without having the 5 minute velocity increase confirmation that I like to look for. So the reason I was confident in entering this early is because price again formed 1 minute divergences here. So I entered this, I started entering, I believe, this candle here just because price bounced off the hourly, sorry, not the hourly, the 5 minute trigger here, right? While 5 minute velocity is still positive, so it's a level of support. And we formed the 1 minute divergence, suggesting that price wants to come back up and mount the 1 minute trigger. This again, I got out very quickly, right? So I really should have held, especially because 5 minute velocity was making new highs and it finally stalled out here, so I could have gone out in this area, but I got out very quickly once we moved very quickly. I believe this candle here, right? So I didn't even wait for the 5 minute velocity confirmation here. This was a nice quick win, and this was my biggest one, like I said earlier, for $740. I was comfortable taking this with larger size just because it checked off most boxes that I look for in a plain setup. The next trade was yesterday on IWM. Oh, okay, so one thing I forgot to say is that most of those charts were extended hours, but this one I actually took on a regular hours chart, I believe. Yeah, okay, so yeah, because obviously these kind of give, right, they read differently on these charts, but I found that it kind of works out if one chart gives you the setup versus the other, right? Because this isn't a setup here. This would have been the setup, right? So that's a bear plane setup after price breaks the hourly trigger, but the way that looks on the regular chart is very different. So this was similar to the Tesla play, and quite honestly, higher confidence going in. It's just it didn't play out the way I expected it to, right? So price attacks the hourly trigger at the open, right, while hourly velocity is still strongly positive here. We have 1 minute velocity making the lowest low here, while price makes all these new lows, and 1 minute velocity is repairing. 5 minute velocity is repairing as well, so that kind of gave me confidence on an entry with the candle close back above the 1 minute trigger to try and target the 5 minute trigger. Okay, this kind of played out. The thing is that typically once you get a mount like this, price tends to follow through a lot quicker. So it kind of acts like an acceleration level. And I basically just got chopped up. I got impatient, and I don't even know where I exited this, but it was just small profit for $115. I just got tired of waiting here, right? Typically this moves a lot quicker, or it'll maybe, I mean, just give different type of movement here, but this is like stalling. So I got impatient and just took my profit and ran there. Okay, so last two trades, they were both today on back to SPX. Okay, this is very similar to the other SPX play, right? Except I don't think the triggers were as tight here. But again, first plain setup after price breaks the hourly trigger, right? Looks very similar to the other one. I also did the same thing here where I entered before we even got the mount, just because we have a 1 minute divergence. Although it's kind of very slight here, but I entered this candle, and I got out right about here with this candle once we started moving. I wish I'd went bigger size with this, kind of like the other play, but that was a $200 profit. And then the last play was on QQQ, which I really should have avoided on a news day like today. But where was this? So it was here. Okay, so a few mistakes that I made here, right? I traded on a news day, and pretty close to it, honestly, to the news event. This was probably the play I should have taken, although I would have been entering early just because we didn't have the 5 minute trigger cross just yet on this airplane setup, so I guess it's not technically a airplane setup. But I entered here, and this was a fake out, right? So we got the full mount. It's just price immediately came right back down. The triggers were pretty tight. We had the hourly velocity confirmation there, and we even had 5 minute velocity confirmation. So 5 minute velocity started coming back up again. Even this velocity here suggested we should have kept price mounted above the 1 minute trigger, but price came tumbling down and it stopped us out very quickly, and we lost $55 there, right? So yeah, those were all the trades for last week, and yeah.